16 famous 1980s actors who lost everything to drugs. Once upon a time, they were the defining faces of an entire generation and the untouchable idols who effortlessly dominated the box office and our living room television screens. But somewhere behind the velvet curtains, the brutal rhythm of Hollywood slowly drained them, pushing these radiant icons into a terrifying spiral of secret addiction and the darkest human tragedies. Welcome to Timeless Hollywood Faces. Please subscribe right now because the ultimate price of fame was never paid in cash, but rather with the very souls of the stars we once truly loved. John Belushi. John Belushi was a monumental and uncontrollable force of energy on Saturday Night Live. He was the beating heart of Animal House and the Blues Brothers, bringing an effortless screen presence that completely redefined comedic acting for an entire generation. But the machinery of fame constantly demanded unrelenting madness. The immense pressure to always be the funniest person in the room eventually drove him into the shadows, leading to that fateful night in 1982 when a lethal mixture abruptly stopped his heart. What would you do if the world relentlessly demanded you to burn brightly until there was absolutely nothing left but ashes? He passed away at just 33 years old, leaving a permanent void in the art of comedy. His tragic end remains a chilling warning about the profound darkness hiding behind the loudest laughter. River Phoenix. River Phoenix was the absolute embodiment of pure youth in Stand By Me and Indiana Jones. He possessed a truly magical cinematic talent that captured the collective imagination of millions. However, beneath that radiant exterior was an incredibly fragile soul, being slowly crushed by an unforgiving industry. The horrific tragedy outside the Viper Room in 1993 suddenly extinguished the brightest star of his generation through a devastating overdose. Is it truly fair when we place the crushing weight of an entire cultural movement onto the shoulders of a young man who has not even had the time to grow up? His sudden disappearance remains an unhealed wound from the 1980s. It stands as a heartbreaking testament to how Hollywood rarely protects its most gifted and vulnerable children. Dana Plato. Dana Plato captured our hearts as the deeply lovable Kimberly on the beloved television sitcom Diff'rent Strokes. She was the quintessential teenage sweetheart whose bright smile dominated our living rooms. Then the brutal reality of the entertainment business discarded her. Financial ruin and the sudden loss of television fame pushed her into a downward spiral of desperation, involving armed robbery and eventually a fatal overdose of prescription medication. When television stops loving you, how is a former child star ever supposed to learn how to survive in the real world? Her life became a haunting reminder of how quickly the studio system abandons its darlings. She deserved the space to become a normal adult rather than being reduced to a tragic tabloid headline. Corey Haim. Corey Haim was the ultimate 1980s teen heartthrob who defined cool in The Lost Boys and License to Drive. He had an iconic charm that effortlessly won the absolute devotion of teenagers everywhere. But somewhere along the way, the intense spotlight burned him. Severe drug abuse deeply ravaged his promising career and cast a long shadow over his life, even though the final physical collapse came from pneumonia and a failing heart. How would it feel if the entire world adored you at 16 but completely turned its back on you the moment you stumbled as an adult? His struggles highlight the terrifying isolation of early fame. The tragic fading of this once radiant star forces us to look closely at the protective rhythm we failed to provide for our youth. Jeff Conaway. Jeff Conaway brought incredible swagger to the screen as Kenickie in Grease and charmed audiences everywhere as Bobby in Taxi. He was an unforgettable presence who perfectly captured the rebellious spirit of the era. But behind closed doors, the physical toll of his performances led to a quiet agony. He slipped into a devastating reliance on painkillers and alcohol to cope with severe back injuries, ultimately destroying his body until he fell into a fatal coma. Can you ever truly blame a person for seeking out painkillers when their very profession has systematically broken their body from the inside out? His agonizing physical decline strips away the glamorous illusion of acting. It leaves us mourning a man whose dedication to his craft cost him the simple right to live without excruciating pain. Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore was the absolute angelic face of a generation as the sweet little girl in E.T. She possessed an unforgettable innocence that instantly won the hearts of audiences around the globe and established her as cinematic royalty. But the unforgiving machinery of fame began consuming her before she even had a chance to truly grow up. By the incredibly tender age of 13, she found herself completely stripped of her childhood, tumbling into severe alcohol and drug abuse that led to a staggering 18 months in rehabilitation, while the industry cruelly branded her unemployable. Should we ever feel a sense of collective guilt when we sit in our living rooms enjoying the performances of children who are actively being robbed of their right to a normal human existence? Her remarkable recovery stands as an incredibly rare miracle today, serving as a monumental victory over the brutal rhythm of a studio system that almost buried her alive. Todd Bridges. Todd Bridges was a radiant beacon of family television, capturing our collective affection as the lovable Willis on Diff'rent Strokes. He was a defining fixture of 1980s pop culture, bringing immense joy to millions of living rooms every single week. Then the bright studio lights faded and left him completely unmoored in a terrifying reality. A devastating addiction to crack cocaine dragged him far away from his wholesome television persona, plunging him into a profoundly dark chapter of criminal charges and terrifying stretches behind prison walls. Where do you even begin to look for personal salvation when the entire world only wants to remember you as a smiling young boy trapped inside a television screen? He eventually found his way back to sobriety, but his harrowing journey remains a dark testament to the incredible psychological toll exacted upon child stars once the cameras finally stop rolling. Tatum O'Neal. Tatum O'Neal achieved the impossible by becoming the youngest competitive Oscar winner in history for her absolute cinematic magic in Paper Moon. She was a true prodigy whose effortless screen presence completely redefined what a child actor could accomplish in the industry. However, the crushing weight of that early golden statue demanded a terrible repayment in the form of a stolen youth. She slowly slipped into the suffocating grip of severe heroin addiction, a profoundly tragic escape that eventually cost her the custody of her own children in a heartbreaking public battle. Is any amount of golden Hollywood glory truly worth it, if it ultimately demands the destruction of your own family happiness as payment? Her painful descent forces us to look closely at the extreme vulnerability of child prodigies, proving that ultimate success is often a gilded cage that slowly breaks the spirit from the inside out. Mackenzie Phillips. Mackenzie Phillips was the ultimate relatable teenager, radiating natural charm as Julie on the beloved sitcom One Day at a Time. She was a deeply familiar face who made millions of young viewers feel completely understood and represented during their formative years. But somewhere behind the velvet curtains, her personal reality was spiraling completely out of control. Deeply rooted trauma pushed her into a brutal cycle of substance abuse, leading to near-fatal overdoses and the agonizing humiliation of being fired from the very television show that made her a household name. How can a viewing audience ever pass judgment on a completely broken soul when we never truly know the horrifying darkness they are forced to endure behind firmly closed doors? Her shattered career is a chilling reminder of how the entertainment world eagerly consumes the brightness of youth but completely abandons the human being underneath the moment they begin to crack. Looking back at these profound tragedies and stolen childhoods, which of these stories still breaks your heart the most today? Please share your thoughts and personal memories with us down in the comments section below. And if you appreciate these honest historical perspectives, please remember to subscribe to our channel so we can continue uncovering these hidden Hollywood files together. Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen was the brilliant star of Platoon and Wall Street, eventually rising to become the highest-paid television actor in the world. He possessed an effortless charm that completely dominated the entertainment landscape for decades. But the crushing weight of public scrutiny and internal demons finally broke the balance. He slipped into a highly publicized spiral of severe self-destruction and massive substance abuse that culminated in a humiliating termination from his massively successful comedy series. When a person possesses all the money and power in the world, where exactly is the line between absolute freedom and unrecoverable ruin? His incredibly public downfall stripped away the glamorous illusion of limitless wealth. It leaves us with a profound warning about how easily the ultimate Hollywood dream can morph into an inescapable waking nightmare. Jan Michael Vincent. Jan Michael Vincent was the ultimate symbol of masculine strength as the rugged star of Airwolf. He commanded the television screen during the mid-1980s, becoming one of the most highly compensated actors of his era. However, his extraordinary physical prowess on screen masked a deeply troubled reality behind closed doors. A devastating addiction to alcohol and hard drugs cratered his once soaring career, transforming a legendary action hero into a fragile shadow of his former self. What happens inside the mind of a man when he realizes his cinematic superpowers cannot save him from his own real-life demons? His tragic descent from the absolute pinnacle of television glory is a heartbreaking reality check. It proves that no amount of fictional heroism can ever protect a fragile human soul from the brutal consequences of addiction. Leif Garrett. Leif Garrett was the ultimate teenage idol, whose perfectly feathered hair and undeniable charisma made millions of young hearts skip a beat. He was the defining face of youth culture, crossing effortlessly between music and television. Then the incredibly harsh reality of growing up entirely in the public eye shattered his golden image. He became trapped in a decades-long battle with severe heroin addiction, leading to numerous arrests and heartbreaking stints behind prison walls while his early fame completely evaporated. How do you ever find the strength to move forward when the flawless image of your own youth becomes your absolute heaviest burden? His incredibly long struggle with the law and substance abuse highlights the profound emptiness that often follows early superstardom. He became a tragic portrait of a boy who was given the world before he even knew how to survive it. Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was an undeniably brilliant cinematic force who captivated audiences throughout the late 1980s. He possessed a raw theatrical talent that promised to make him the defining actor of his entire generation. But the crushing weight of his internal struggles pushed him into a profoundly dark chapter. A severe addiction to narcotics led to terrifying prison sentences and caused the studio system to completely write him off as an uninsurable risk. How much courage does it take to pull yourself out of the absolute darkest depths when the entire world has already written the obituary for your career? His unprecedented return to the absolute pinnacle of the box office is not just a commercial victory today. It stands as the greatest cinematic proof that no human soul should ever be considered completely unsalvageable. Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor was the undisputed genius of modern comedy who revolutionized the entertainment landscape with his razor-sharp observations. He commanded the stage with a fearless energy that made him one of the most beloved and influential voices of the era. Then the intense pressure of his own brilliant mind drove him toward the most destructive coping mechanisms imaginable. His severe dependence on cocaine culminated in a horrifying incident in 1980 where he literally set his own body on fire in a drug-induced psychosis. Are the brilliant minds that most deeply understand the tragic absurdity of human nature also the most terrifyingly vulnerable to personal pain? His agonizing physical recovery and eventual return to the stage remain a haunting testament to human endurance. He leaves us wondering if the most profound laughter must always be paid for with the most agonizing personal suffering. Dennis Hopper. Dennis Hopper was the ultimate symbol of cinematic rebellion who completely redefined American counterculture through his iconic performance in Easy Rider. He possessed a wild, creative vision that promised to change the fundamental rules of independent filmmaking forever. However, his insatiable appetite for artistic freedom eventually mutated into a terrifying spiral of chemical dependency. His severe alcohol and drug abuse caused major Hollywood studios to label him completely unemployable, pushing him into years of professional exile. Would you ever dare to give a second chance to a broken artist who previously destroyed every single door that was opened before them? He eventually clawed his way back to sobriety and delivered terrifyingly brilliant performances in the late 1980s. His monumental resurgence proves that true artistic genius can survive even the most destructive periods of personal madness. Richard Dreyfuss. Richard Dreyfuss was the deeply relatable and incredibly charismatic star who anchored monumental blockbuster films like Jaws and Close Encounters. He had an infectious everyman appeal that instantly earned him the absolute trust and adoration of global audiences. But behind the spectacular box office triumphs, he was secretly plunging into a profound abyss of cocaine addiction. The breaking point arrived in 1982 when a terrifying car crash while driving under the influence nearly ended his life and destroyed his monumental career. Can a near-fatal mistake ever become the ultimate wake-up call required to save the rest of your natural life? he eventually found the incredible strength to seek professional treatment and reclaim his sobriety. His quiet recovery serves as a powerful reminder that sometimes you have to almost lose everything before you can finally learn how to save yourself. Hollywood is a dazzling illusion, but it is also a brutal factory that systematically crushes the most fragile human souls. These 16 unforgettable names remind us that the absolute greatest fame and limitless wealth can never purchase true peace of mind. A few of these radiant icons eventually found their way back into the light, while others permanently transformed into the hauntingly beautiful ghosts of our 1980s nostalgia. Their profound personal suffering was the terrible price paid for the cinematic magic that we once enjoyed so deeply in our living rooms. Thank you for taking the time to sit down with timeless Hollywood faces to finally look behind this heavy velvet curtain. Please take care of yourselves, and we will see you again in our next historical chapter.